9 was 9. Everybody know what 9 was to this team, to this city. He's gone. I'm going to be gone at some point. DA is going to be gone at some point. Cam Jordan, DeMario Davis is going to be gone at some point. It don't mean that football stops for New Orleans Saints.
Definitely a new era of football for the New Orleans Saints, filled with turnovers, mistakes, and a lack of effort as the black and gold fall to 2-5 on the year. Welcome into the Black and Gold Report. I'm Corey Rholdon, joined by ESPN Radio's Matt Musso. And Matt, I want your initial thoughts on the Saints' loss last Thursday night to the Cardinals.
Yeah, Corey, I mean, look, it's tough to come in here each week kind of with a new takeaway when you're popping in the same bad movie and watching it over and over and over again. And that's what the New Orleans Saints feel like at this point. It's turnovers on offense and crucial turnovers right at the end of the half. It's missed tackles continuing on defense. It's penalties on both sides of the ball. It's a constant shooting yourself in the foot and a very undisciplined football team that right now at this point, quite frankly, is just not very good.
You're right. They keep beating themselves. You can't have back-to-back pick sixes and expect to win a football game. But also, I want to talk about this Saints defense. Coming into the year, people thought they would be one of the best in the NFL, maybe the best in Saints history. It's been the opposite of that. They've been really bad. And we show you a play right here. The Saints' run defense for years has been great. Look how big this hole is. Teams are running all over the Saints. The front isn't as good as we thought they were. And we're going to look at the offensive ranks as well. The Saints pretty good offensively. 7th in points, 3rd in yards. But look at the Saints defense. 31st in points. A lot of that has to do with the turnovers. You see the Saints worst in the NFL in turnovers. What is your biggest concern for the Saints?
The biggest concern, Corey, is what you just mentioned. It's the defense. I mean, look, everyone wants to make a big deal about Andy Dalton getting the start at quarterback this weekend, even with Jameis Winston being healthy. But Dennis Allen's kind of right. The offense has been moving, and that started with the running game. Now, you have to correct the turnovers there, but you're losing games because your defense, quite frankly, just isn't great. You ran through the numbers, specifically in the red zone. They're struggling as well. The Saints have scored 25 or more points in their last 3 games. They have not won them. Like, you have to win when you score that much. You're just not stopping the opposition. That's something where you've been elite in the past, and you're far, far, far from it if you're New Orleans right now.
Do you think that's Dennis Allen's biggest concern?
I think it should be.
Yeah, it's about the players not playing. We're going to take a listen to Dennis Allen.
My biggest concern is that we haven't had, the health of our players. We got into this game tonight, and Roby goes out in the first series, and so, we're really down to 2 corners, and this is a big, 11 personnel team that's going to throw 3 wide receivers out there, and it made it challenging.
Yeah, that's not what you want to hear from your head coach. That's excuses.
Yes, it is.
What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, you've had great depth in the past defensively for the New Orleans Saints. You don't right now. And part of that is because some of your depth pieces have been forced into a starting role because other guys went out the door in free agency, like Marcus Williams, or traded, like C.J. Gardner-Johnson, who's doing fantastic right now with the Eagles, salt in the open wound. So it's that, and you can look along the defensive line. You mentioned the front not being that good. Trey Hendrickson plays in Cincinnati.
What is Marcus Davenport?
Marcus Davenport.
What has he done?
All right, isn't this the same thing every year with Marcus Davenport right now at this point?
I don't want to say it, but the Saints have had starts like this in the past, and every single time they've won 2 games from their first 6 at least, they've finished the year 7-9. So what is 7-9 in a 17-game season?
Great question.
Is it 7-10? Is it 8-9? Matt, is the season over?
It's hard to say that because the division is so bad.
Yep.
But it's also hard to find wins when you look at the Saints' schedule. And I mentioned the division there. The Saints are 1-2 against the division, so it's even kind of hard to find wins within the NFC South.
And they lost to Carolina.
They lost to Carolina. They lost to Tampa Bay. You have to go to Tampa Bay to finish. I believe it's your last division game of the year, so or second to last. It's hard to find wins, and then there's the outside division. You got to face the Rams and the Niners and the Eagles. So it's not over mathematically, but I don't see the Saints winning the division and making the playoffs.
The Saints' best player spoke to the team after their loss to the Cardinals, saying that they aren't playing Saints football, but he does believe the season is not over because they have everything they want to accomplish right in front of them.
The years we've been good, it's been like a certain swag and a certain confidence, you know, about the offense. Like even when we were down, it was never that like we were looking at the score. It was like, all right, well, let's go, let's play football. It wasn't a score thing. It wasn't a like what the other team was doing thing. It's like, let's go out, execute, and we're gonna like the result. Just honestly, I feel like we haven't really been playing like that. It's been like, it's just a little bit of a panic, a little bit of a like, oh, we down. Like, you know, we got to get our swag, and this what better time, you know. Everything is still in front of us. We're a game out. I think we found a way to kind of get that pride and that swag back and hit our stride at the right time. You know, everything is still in front of us.
We could see if the Saints can turn it around, and it all starts on Sunday back in the Superdome. But the schedule didn't do them any favors. The Raiders, yes, they're 2-4. They're in a similar spot with the Saints, but they have a very talented roster. What are your takeaways from that game?
Yeah, so, I mean, I could give you a matchup to watch. Like you mentioned earlier, the run defense. I can tell you Josh Jacobs is doing really, really well, toting the rock for Josh McDaniels. You got to stop him. But I'm more interested in what Alvin Kamara just said there. I'm more interested in what Demario Davis said, very similar to that, what Dennis Allen himself. Did you find the swag in your extra days off? Did you find it? Are you back to being the New Orleans Saints? What do they look like? What passion, what emotion do they play with Sunday in the Dome? Because they're not going to go out there and just win immediately. They're not going to jump out and boat race the Raiders. There's going to be adversity. So how do you respond to that? Like the New Orleans Saints teams that were the winningest franchise in the history in current NFL in that point. Do you respond like those teams did, or do you respond like the team did in Arizona or against Cincinnati?
And put your head down. I 100% agree. You know, when they get a turnover, does the defense, you know, all go celebrate at the end of the end zone like we saw in pass? But one matchup I do want to watch in this game is going to be Devontae Adams going up against whoever the cornerback is for the Saints. I think it's going to be Paulson Adebo,
hopefully.
But it could be even Taylor. But Devontae Adams has been among the best receivers in the NFL the past couple of years, and Derek Carr is a pretty good quarterback. They can't get pressure on Carr. Could be a long day for the Saints, and Adams could be torching the Saints secondary. For more keys to victory, we're going to check in with the Florida Leave Reports writer, Chris Lunking. Chris, what you got?
Yeah, Corey, this game will have huge implications for the Saints season, so here are my keys to victory. First, to ironically quote Al Davis, the quarterback must go down, and he must go down hard. The Saints have struggled to get after the passer this season, but with the Saints secondary banged up, it's important that the pass rush gets home and prevents Derek Carr from finding his playmakers. Second, your offensive must maintain some rhythm. Andy Dalton in the offense has generated good production in the recent weeks, but now it's time to up that production and maintain it by once again avoiding turnovers and penalties. And lastly, understand the stakes. Look, when your back is against the wall, every game becomes a playoff game. Despite how badly this season has gone so far, all of the Saints' goals are still in front of them. And with the division crown still within reach, it's no secret that they'll need to come out with a sense of urgency. They do that, and I think they come away with a win against the Raiders. Corey?
I think we all agree the Saints have to get their swag back.
They do, and they've done an awful lot of talking about getting the swag back now. As we were just talking, we see if they do. It's just hard to pick the New Orleans Saints right now to win a football game. Are they capable of beating the Raiders in the Superdome, home field? Absolutely, they are, but I don't know if I can pick that right now. I have to see the defense step up. I think that's the flaw again this week. I'll take the Raiders 30-27.
Matt, I kept going back and forth. The Alvin Kamara quotes this morning got me. And then, you know, a little bit of reason, as you see behind me. I have the Saints winning. No. Raiders are going to win this one 31-28 until the Saints can prove they can actually close out a football game. Then I'm not picking them. That's all for the Black and Gold Report. For Chris, for Matt, for myself, we'll see you guys next week.